As the sun dipped behind the ancient baobab tree, the villagers of Nwoko gathered for the evening council. The air was thick with anticipation. Tonight, Chief Oduma would announce his successor. Kofi, the chief's only son, sat quietly among the elders, his mind elsewhere. His heart beat not with pride for his lineage, but with the ache of secret love. He glanced across the crowd and caught the eyes of Amala, the daughter of a simple fisherman, a woman whose laughter was forbidden to him by tradition. The elders spoke of duty, bloodlines, and the legacy of their ancestors, their voices echoing through the night. Kofi's jaw tightened as he listened. He knew what was expected of him: to marry from a powerful family, to unite clans, to lead as his father did. Yet every word felt like a chain tightening around his spirit. He saw Amali looking back at him, her gaze filled with both hope and fear. In that moment, Kofi felt the full weight of the crossroads ahead, between his heart's longing and the path laid out by generations before him. At dawn, while the village still slept, Kofi walked quietly along the riverbank, heart pounding with the anticipation of seeing Amale. The gentle rush of water masked their whispered words as she waited beneath the thick reeds, eyes searching the misty horizon for any sign of watching eyes. Their secret meetings had become the only moments Kofi felt truly alive, free from the crushing weight of expectations. Today, Amali's voice trembled with fear. She had heard rumors that the elders were considering marriages to unite the village with powerful neighbors. Kofi knelt before her, hands trembling as he took hers into his own. "We can't hide forever," he said, determination glinting in his eyes. Amali squeezed his hand, her touch both a comfort and a plea. "What if they never accept us?" she whispered. Kofi's jaw set with resolve. "Then I will stand against them all." For a fleeting moment, the world melted away. No chief, no duty, just two young souls wrapped in hope and the gentle embrace of dawn. But as the sun rose higher, reality crept back, and with it, the shadow of impossible choices. The air inside Chief Oduma's hut was thick with incense and tension. Kofi stood tall before his father, feeling the sharp eyes of his ancestors gazing down from carved masks along the walls. Chief Oduma's voice was calm but iron strong. "You are to be wed to Mirembe, daughter of the neighboring chief. The union is already arranged. This is the will of our people." Kofi's fists clenched at his sides. For the first time, he met his father's gaze without flinching. "Father, I cannot marry for power. My heart belongs to another." The chief's expression darkened, anger and disappointment flickering across his face. "You would risk the peace of our village for your own desires? You would defy the elders and our ancestors?" Kofi's voice trembled, but he held steady. "I would risk anything for love. I want to build my life with Amala." The silence that followed was deafening. Chief Oduma looked away, wrestling with tradition and the son he'd raised to be a leader. "You shame our bloodline," he whispered. Kofi's heart pounded, knowing this was only the beginning of a battle that would shake the roots of their world. The word of Kofi's defiance spread quickly through the village, carried on the wind and the lips of gossiping neighbors. In the elders' courtyard, beneath a low-hanging thatch roof, the oldest men and women sat in a tense circle, voices hushed but urgent. Some were appalled by Kofi's actions, claiming his rebellion threatened the very fabric of their traditions. Others, especially the younger elders, showed a glimmer of understanding, recalling their own youthful passions now long suppressed. The head elder, Nana Ife, leaned heavily on his staff, his eyes clouded with worry. "If the chief's son breaks the law of the ancestors, what stops any youth from doing the same?" he asked, his voice trembling. The room fell silent, the question hanging over them all. Some argued for punishment, others for compassion. The debate became heated, but in every face was the recognition that the old ways were being challenged. Beyond the courtyard, children played, oblivious to the storm brewing within their elders' hearts. That night, the village slept uneasily, torn between the comfort of tradition and the winds of inevitable change. Amali sat beside her father, the fisherman, mending nets as the river sparkled in the midday sun. She was silent, her hands moving automatically, her thoughts consumed by the growing storm around her love for Kofi. Her father noticed her distress, setting down his tools to gently place a calloused hand on hers. Child, you have been distant. The village speaks your name, some in whispers, some in anger. Amali's eyes filled with tears, her voice trembling. They want to tear us apart, Baba. They say I'm not worthy. Her father drew her close, his embrace both comfort and shield. You are worthy of any man's love, even a chief's son. But love comes with sacrifice, and our people do not change easily. As the day wore on, Amale struggled between the safety of family and the burning desire to fight for her heart's truth. The river, ever flowing, seemed to echo her uncertainty. Would she be carried along by the current of tradition, or would she have the strength to swim against it for the chance at true happiness? That evening, Kofi wandered through the outskirts of the village, alone with his troubled thoughts. The path wound between maize fields and acacia trees, the sounds of daily life slowly fading into the gentle hum of insects. Every footstep felt heavy, each memory of Amale and their fleeting moments together tightening the ache in his chest. He remembered her laughter by the river, the determination in her eyes, the warmth of her hand in his. But those memories clashed with images of his father's disappointment and the stern, unyielding faces of the elders. Villagers he passed offered wary glances, their whispers trailing behind him. Some pitied him. Others saw a rebel, a threat to their way of life. Kofi paused by a small shrine to the ancestors, its offerings of fruit and grain freshly laid. He knelt, searching for guidance, silently begging for a sign. The wind stirred the tall grass, but the ancestors gave no answer. As the sky deepened to purple, Kofi realized he had to choose. Would he abandon Amali and uphold tradition? Or would he risk everything for the chance to shape his own destiny? Summoning all her courage, Amale walked barefoot across the village square to the elders' courtyard. The midday sun beat down, but her resolve kept her steady. The elders regarded her with stern, questioning eyes, surprised to see the fisherman's daughter stand before them alone. Amali bowed deeply, then raised her head, voice unwavering. Honored elders, I come not to defy you, but to speak my heart. She explained her love for Kofi, her respect for tradition, and her hope that the village could find space for change. Some elders shifted uncomfortably. Others listened with genuine curiosity. Nana Ife, the head elder, asked her hard questions about duty, sacrifice, and the meaning of love in a world ruled by custom. Amali answered with honesty and humility. As she spoke, the mood in the courtyard softened. Her courage and vulnerability touched even the most rigid of hearts. When she finished, the elders sat in heavy silence. Whether she had swayed them or not, Amale had done something few dared. She had stood for her truth in the face of centuries-old tradition. The morning after Amale's bold plea, Kofi awoke to an unfamiliar hush. As he stepped outside, the village square was alive with uneasy murmurs and sidelong glances. Some people drew their children close, others nodded with reluctant respect. Kofi felt exposed. His secret love was now the subject of every conversation, his rebellion measured by every watchful eye. He forced himself to walk through the heart of the village, head held high, meeting the gazes of men and women who'd known him since childhood. Friends and rivals alike questioned him, some quietly offering support, others warning of the consequences of defying the elders and chief. The fisherman's family stood at their doorway, faces etched with fear and pride. In the center of the square, a group of elders waited, their faces set with the gravity of their decision. Kofi's hands trembled, but he did not hesitate. Every step was a declaration. He would not hide from tradition or from love. The moment had come for him to face the judgment of his people with all the risks and hopes that entailed. The sun reached its peak as Kofi stood in the center of the square, sweat tracing lines down his brow. The elders, seated in a semicircle before the gathered villagers, exchanged grave glances before Nana Ife rose, staff in hand. The hush was absolute. Kofi, son of Chief Oduma, you have defied the will of your elders and the traditions of our people, he began, his voice carrying over the crowd. But you have also shown great courage. Courage born from love, not rebellion alone. There was a pause, the tension nearly unbearable. The council is divided. Some say you must be exiled. Others say you must be given a chance to prove your devotion, not just to Amala, but to the village itself. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Nana Ife continued, "You will face a test, a task that will benefit all. If you succeed, you may choose your own path. If you fail, you will leave this village forever." Kofi's heart pounded, but he nodded in acceptance. In the shadows, Amale squeezed her father's hand, hope and fear warring in her eyes. The fate of their love now hung on a single trial. At dawn, Kofi stood at the edge of the great forest, the whole village watching in tense silence. The elders had decreed his test. He must gather rare medicinal herbs from deep within the woods and return before sunset, an act requiring bravery, knowledge, and a selfless spirit. These herbs were desperately needed by ailing elders and children, but the forest was vast, tangled, and rumored to shelter wild beasts. Kofi's heart pounded as he entered the shadowy undergrowth, the air alive with the calls of unseen birds and distant animals. With every step, he recalled his father's lessons and Amali's quiet faith in him. Thorns tore at his arms, sweat poured down his face, and once, the roar of a distant animal froze him in his tracks. But determination burned in his chest. He followed the river deeper, searching, refusing to give up. Meanwhile, in the village, Amali and the elders waited anxiously, hope and worry mingling in every heart. The sun climbed higher. Would Kofi return victorious? Or would love and legacy be lost to the darkness of the forest? The forest seemed to swallow Kofi as he pressed deeper into its emerald shadows. The sunlight, so bright at the edge, quickly faded to a gentle green gloom under the canopy. Every step grew harder. The undergrowth thickened, and roots snagged at his feet. Sweat ran down his back as he followed the winding river, searching for the rare herbs he had seen only once, long ago with his father. His mind raced with worry. If he failed, he would lose everything he loved. Suddenly, the call of a wild animal echoed through the trees, and Kofi froze, heart pounding. He crouched low, calming his breath, and waited until the sound faded. The hours stretched endlessly, his hands scratched by thorns as he searched every nook and shaded bank. Exhaustion tugged at him, but he remembered Amali's unwavering faith and pressed on, repeating her words in his mind. "You are strong enough." The forest tested him, but Kofi refused to give in to fear or despair. Somewhere ahead, he knew, hope still grew. He just had to find it. Hours into his search, Kofi's legs ached and his throat was dry. But then a faint glimmer of sunlight broke through the canopy, illuminating a small clearing ahead. He pushed aside the vines and stepped into the open space, his eyes widening. There, at the base of a moss-covered rock, grew the rare medicinal herbs, delicate green leaves with tiny white blossoms swaying in the breeze. Relief surged through him, replacing his fatigue with purpose. He knelt, carefully harvesting each plant, mindful to leave some behind so they could grow again. As he worked, the forest seemed to grow quieter, almost watchful. A rustle in the bushes made him glance up, heart racing. But it was only a small antelope, watching briefly before darting away. Kofi gathered the herbs into a woven pouch he'd brought, his hand steady despite the urgency. For the first time since the trial began, he allowed himself a smile. He had what the village needed. But the journey back through the forest would be just as dangerous, and the sun was already dipping lower in the sky. With the herbs safely secured in his pouch, Kofi began the trek back, moving quickly through the dense forest. The once inviting greenery now felt like a maze, every shadow a reminder of the dangers lurking within. The sun was already dipping lower, streaks of gold piercing through the canopy, urging him onward. His feet slipped on damp leaves and branches scratched his arms, but he pushed forward, driven by the thought of Amali and the villagers waiting. At one point, the sound of rushing water blocked his path. A swollen stream, its current fierce from recent rains. Without hesitation, Kofi waded through, clutching the pouch tightly above his head. By the time he reached the other side, his legs ached and his breathing came in sharp bursts. Still, he refused to slow down. The forest edge was near, but so was the sinking sun. Every step was a race against both nature and time, and he knew a single delay could mean the end of his love and his place in the village. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Kofi emerged from the forest edge, his chest heaving with exhaustion and triumph. The golden light bathed the village in a warm glow, and the murmurs of the waiting crowd grew louder at the sight of him. Clutching the pouch of herbs to his chest, he strode forward, mud-streaked and dripping from his journey. Amali broke from the crowd, running to meet him, her eyes shining with relief. She stopped just short, her gaze searching his face as if to confirm he was truly safe. The elders rose from their seats, Nana Eve stepping forward to take the pouch. He examined the herbs carefully, then looked up, a faint smile breaking the solemnity. You have done well, Kofi. You have served not just your love, but your people. Cheers erupted, and the tension that had gripped the village for days finally eased. Amali took Kofi's hand, their fingers intertwining as the weight of the trial lifted. For the first time, their love felt not just defiant, but accepted. That evening, under the golden glow of the setting sun, the village gathered once more beneath the great baobab tree. The elders sat in a place of honor, and for the first time in generations, they prepared to bless a union born not of arranged alliances, but of love and courage. Kofi and Amali stood side by side, hands clasped, their faces lit with quiet joy. Chief Oduma stepped forward, his expression softened. Today my son has shown that a leader serves his people with his heart as well as his strength, he said, his voice carrying through the crowd. Turning to Amala, he added, and you, daughter of the river, have reminded us all of the power of steadfast love. The villagers erupted in applause and cheers as the elders sprinkled sacred water over the couple's joined hands, sealing their bond. Drums began to beat, and dancing filled the square. For Kofi and Amala, the trial was over. Their love, once forbidden, now stood at the heart of a stronger, more united village.